I know that I've already done a video talking about Mike McDaniel, and it was, pretty, got some pretty decent reception behind it. The comments that I saw were basically the ones I expected to see. But when I did the video, I incorporated this video right here where he did a press conference talking about his identity and how he chooses to identify and everything like that. But I didn't dissect it because by the time it got to this point, I was already a bit frustrated with the narrative that they were trying to push. But I happened to come across a video that the Amazing Lucas did where he was basically in his own way dissecting this commentary, and it made me want to go back and do my own dissection of it. And it's like I had to listen to his commentary on repeat, not to get a gist of what I was going to say, but because he pretty much was going to say the same things I'm going to say, but I'm gonna, add my own little take on it as well. But this time, this is going to be a lot of stop and go here, even though the video is only 1 minute and 12 seconds, because if you've already watched my video about him, you've already seen the whole video without any interruption from me. So by this time, you already know what he has said. But this time, we're going to really go in to break down what he said. And the crazy part about it is, it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out what he was alluding to, but he said some very questionable things. A lot, quite honestly. And we're going to go ahead and get into that right now.
Yeah, it's been very odd, to tell you the truth.
Well, first off, let's just talk about his body language. I would say that I'm a pretty good judge of body language. Just look at the way he's standing. Like how this started off already, and we're only 3 seconds in. You can tell he's uncomfortable. Like he's squirming. He's not standing like in good posture. Like you can tell he's very uncomfortable with the question in which he's being asked. And I said this in my previous video. He doesn't seem like he likes being asked that question because it puts him in a position of answering a question that he doesn't like to answer. He's probably been asked that before, but now, he had to have known this was going to happen because now he's on a bigger stage where that question is going to be brought up.
Truth. This idea of identifying as something, I think people identify me as something, but I identify as a human being.
That was the first part. He said, I think people identify me as something, which means people see, are, questioning his race. Like, what is his ethnicity? What is he? But he comes back and says, I identify myself as human, as a human being. Keep in mind that according to the article that I read in the previous video about him, he was raised by his single mother who happens to be a white woman. If only those walls could talk. Imagine what being raised in that household was like. And his father, who apparently is black, we still haven't seen a picture of him, we don't even know his name, was apparently not there. I don't know what the issue was going on with him. Well, not with him, but with his mother and his dad. But apparently there must not be a relationship there. We don't even know if his dad is alive or dead. But he says he identifies himself as a human being. That gives me the I don't see color vibes, which I truly believe comes directly from his white mother. But watch this next response.
And my dad's black.
Look at that. Again, body language and tone. He says, I identify myself as a human being and and my dad's black. But look at how he said it. He said, and my dad's black. He said it in a very standoffish tone, and he kind of flipped his hand up and slammed it back on the podium as if he's ashamed to even mention that he has a black father. So that already lets you know how he identifies himself. I mean, the fact that he says he identifies himself as a human being lets you know that not only would he ever identify himself as black, as if we ever believe he would, but he wouldn't even identify himself as at least biracial. Like, if he was to check off any boxes on applications, he would probably check other. And, he might not even check that. I wouldn't be surprised if he did check W. And by the way, I believe it was Gnome King that was telling me in the chat about him being a high school coach. Now, you got to question yourself. Question this. How is it that he went from being a high school coach then to being a defensive coordinator for the 49ers and then leaped all the way to being a head coach for the Miami Dolphins? Like, that is a huge leap. Like, really. Like, he didn't even coach in college. He coached apparently high school, unless I got him mixed up with another coach. But still, he does not have any head coaching experience at all, except out of the defensive coordinator. But when it comes to that, you're only dealing with defense. With the head coach, you got to deal with all sides of a team, not just one side. But yeah, the way he said, and my dad's black, it's almost like he was ashamed to say that and even acknowledge his dad, period. Which to me is a big slap in the face to his dad.
So whatever you want to call it, I know there's a lot of people with a shared experience.
And he said, whatever you want to call it. Whatever you want to call it. That lets me even further know that he does not put, he apparently does not, I can't say he doesn't label himself because he said he identifies as a human being. So he already gave himself a label. But here's the thing. Isn't everybody, for the most part, a human being? That's not what they were asking. And he knew they were. And he was, like I said in the previous video, it was a cop-out response to say that he identified as a human being. He knew what they were talking about, but he wasn't going to say it. But let's continue.
But it doesn't make, it's weird that it comes up because I've just tried to,
See, and notice another thing, he keeps pausing, he keeps hesitating to answer the question. He says it's weird that it keeps coming up. Is it? Is it? Because I'm curious, like, for those who knew him before he became this head coach, or like for say the last 5 to 10 years of his life, I wonder how he carried himself throughout life. Because he says he identifies as a human being, but I'm curious, has he always identified as human being? Because I'm almost certain human being is not something that you can check off on a box for a job application or even on a census. That's not something that you can put there. That's not an option unless you write it in under other. But as far as it being already typed in as an option, it's not there. They don't even have biracial as a category. Now they have something there called 2 or more races. So I guess that's where the mixed category would be. So I guess that's where he would fit in. But as far as him saying I identify as a human being, no, that's not it.
Be a good person, and I think my background opens my eyes a little bit.
He said, be a good person. I swear, he sounds more and more PC the more he continues to talk.
I don't have any real experience with racism because,
No kidding. He said he doesn't have any real experience with racism. To that, I say no kidding, because he can easily pass. Like anyone who, if people didn't know that he had a black dad, everyone would assume that he was straight up and down a white guy. Point blank, period. And I think he probably would have preferred it to be that way, which is why he said, when he mentioned about his dad as being black, I'm willing to bet if his dad was a white guy, he wouldn't have said it in that tone. It just came off real disrespectful to me. Like, I feel like there's some self-hate there.
I think you identify me as something close to, I don't know.
Now, let me go back a little bit because he almost had a Freudian slip. Let me rewind a little bit.
You identify me as something close to, I don't.
Look at that. He says, as something close to, that was a W sound. He was getting ready to say, identify me close to white. Didn't he just say that he identifies as a human being, which means he can't identify under the color wheel of anything other than being a human being? Let me run that back one more time.
I think you identify me as something close to, I don't know.
There it is. He almost said close to white. And that's the thing. He knows he's always been identified closer to white, and he probably prefers it that way. And he probably hates that, and it probably makes him itch that he even had to acknowledge his dad was black.
No. But I know my mom experienced it when she married my dad.
Listen to that. Another slap in the face. He said, I know my mom experienced racism when she married my dad. So are you trying to tell us that your dad, who was black, as you say, didn't experience racism? Or are you trying to imply that if a person of another race gets with a black man, they'll experience racism by default? Or is it a little bit of both? I'm telling you, like, I got some weird vibes from this guy, like real off rip. I'm gonna be keeping my eye on him when it comes to how, everything like goes on with him down in Miami. I really am, just based on this video, for real.
I know my dad experienced it, and that's in my family, but I guess.
And he mentioned his dad next. He made sure to mention his white mother first, and then he mentioned his black dad second.
Yes, that makes me a human being that can identify with other people's problems.
There he goes with the human being part again. So you can tell he doesn't know where he doesn't know where he lies in this world. And that goes back to something that the amazing Lucas has said in his video, and I'm going to say it right here. He said that he sees why now a lot of people don't big up or praise interracial relationships, marriages, or even quote unquote biracial children. Not because they don't want to see people happy if they're genuinely happy to be with that person, but it's because you get products like this. Not all the time. There are some that, know who they are, but you get people like this who clearly are confused about their identity and their place in this world. And I'm telling you right now, I think he said in the video, and I could be wrong, that he never experienced racism. And now that the cat is out of the bag, that he has a black dad, which he sounds disappointed to even say, now people are going to know. And if he ever experiences racism, because now people know his little secret, he's going to be mad probably at his dad all over again. And the crazy part about it is he didn't even have to answer this question. This was a question that one of those reporters asked, and he decided to go into this diatribe and explain this. And notice how like I said, he hesitated to respond to this question, which was a very simple question that he could have easily answered, but since he decided to go into it, since he didn't dodge it and say that he didn't want to answer it, but since he did, he gave this long, questionable side-eyeing of a response that did not even need all of that. It was a simple question that could have been summed up in a few words that took less than probably 10 or 15 seconds to answer instead of a whole minute and 12 seconds. But he was put on the spot. And he probably didn't like that. But now people know. But see, the thing is, we already found out that he had something else going on in that bloodline of his when it was put out days before, when he first got the job, before he did this press conference. But now that it was out there, he had to basically explain himself. But see, I think he never had to be in this position where he had to talk about this before. And this is eating him up right now. Because now that he's done it once, he's probably going to have to do it again and again and again. Because they're going to force him to pick a side. That saying of I'm going to identify as a human being is not going to fly. Because I do not believe that before this day or any other time that he said he identified as a human being. And if he did, he got it from who he was raised by. And that was his white mother. No father, as far as we know, in sight. Like I said, we don't even know his dad's name. We don't even have a picture of his dad. I've seen a picture of his mom. We even found out his mom's name is, I think his mom's name is Donna. But we don't know what his dad, like who his dad is. It's almost like the guy kind of just vanished. He just kind of disappeared. But this is why a lot of people frown at interracial relationship. It's not because, like I said, they don't want to see people happy or genuinely happy. It's because if you get kids like this, they end up confused, or as how the amazing Lucas said in his video, they have an identity crisis. And that's clearly what he's having. And he feels like, and it's like he's battling internally with that identity crisis. It seems like he was nesting in that identity crisis, but then today he had to literally share it with the world. But I mean, it is what it is. But when you said you identify as a human being and your dad's black, it's like he put his dad way beneath him, as if black people aren't human beings. I'm telling you right now, he got that from his white mother. And people say, oh, that's why I say don't let PC say, oh, I'm dating a black person, I'm sleeping with a black person, I'm married to a black person, we have quote unquote black children, and don't think that for one single solitary second that they can't be racist. Because they can. As a matter of fact, they are some of the worst races, to be quite honest. But yeah, I just wanted to come on here and do this breakdown. I initially wasn't going to do it, but watching that video that the Amazing Lucas did, which, like I said, I'm going to leave the link to his commentary in the description, and you can go and watch it for yourself if you haven't done so already, because he pretty much says the same exact things that I've said, but I, put my own little spin on it. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. If you have not done so already, make sure you go and hit that bell to be notified every time I upload a new video or go live.